Have you ever been in a situation where you thought you knew someone very well and then realized that you didn't at all? I had such an experience some time ago, and it's opened up a new chapter in my life. My name is Oliver, and I'm a freelance photographer. I started out as a contract photographer at a publishing house where I met Charlotte, an editor. We eventually got married, and 7 years into our marriage, I went freelance. Being able to shoot what I loved was a dream come true. We didn't have kids. I always liked children, but Charlotte was busy and happy with her job and wasn't too enthusiastic about starting a family. It was just the way it was, and we had a happy marriage, or so I thought. One Sunday, I suggested to Charlotte, "Charlotte, how about we go for a drive? It's been a while." She responded,
Sure, the weather is nice. Let's go.
and so we went for a drive. We usually left without fixing a destination. On the way, I said, "I've got it. Let's stop by my folks' place. I haven't been back in a long time, and I want to take some photos of the countryside." It was always difficult to get Charlotte to go to my parents' house in my hometown. She would always say,
I grew up in the city and I love the city. I don't like the countryside. I could never live there.
so the usual strategy was to drop by my parents' house during our drive. I think my wife knew what I was up to. Despite my somewhat reluctant wife, we drove and arrived at my parents' house. I said, "Hi, Mom, it's us." It was my brother, Lucas, who greeted us at the door.
Hi, Oliver. Hi, Charlotte. We just got here ourselves.
Actually, I had secretly made arrangements with Lucas so that we all got together there for a specific purpose. I had heard from him and his wife Jackie that Mom was acting strange, and it had been bothering me. I need to see for myself. I was thinking, just when Mom, who had begun preparing lunch in the kitchen, said,
Oh, Liam, welcome home. How was your business trip? I'll have lunch ready in no time.
"Liam, was she mistaking me for my dad? But he passed away 10 years ago. Could it be dementia?" I thought. My mother was 73 years old. Sure, it wouldn't be strange if she had dementia at her age, but it felt a bit sudden. At that moment, Jackie said,
Oliver, last time we stopped by, she asked me, "Who are you?" She seemed to recover afterwards, but I think she should see a doctor.
A few days later, my brother and his wife took Mom to the hospital, and as we had suspected, she was diagnosed with dementia. Damn it, I thought. My brother and his wife lived in the nearby town, but both of them had 9-to-5 jobs. It would be difficult for them to take care of Mom. I'm a freelancer, and as long as my wife is okay with it, I can take care of Mom in our place. But it's hard to propose taking her in since Charlotte isn't comfortable with her. But I must bring it up because this is about my mother. "Charlotte, I need to talk to you about something." My wife immediately replied in an angry tone.
Is it about your mother? There's no way we take her in. I have a job. I can't take care of an old woman with dementia. I don't want to come home to find your deranged mother living here.
I was taken aback by her words. "What the hell are you talking about? She's my mother. Don't talk about her like that. It's not like she's coming over right away. And I'm not saying you have to take care of her all by yourself. I'll also take care of her," I said, but she shouted back.
I knew it. You've been planning to take her in, haven't you? I've had enough, really. You secretly planned to visit your parents' house with Lucas, didn't you? Even though you knew I didn't want to go. This isn't forgivable.
We'd had small arguments from time to time, but this was probably our first major confrontation since we got married. I knew my wife would be against it, but I didn't expect her to push me away so coldly. We had always respected each other's wishes, and we had gotten along well. I was quite shocked to see Charlotte changing her attitude so drastically when I brought up the subject of my mother. I tried to reason with myself. Well, I sure brought up the subject suddenly. She'll probably calm down by tomorrow. But I was too optimistic. The next day, my wife came home from work and immediately declared that she had contacted a divorce lawyer.
You say you'll take care of her, but that means I have to live with her too, right? So it's only natural that I'd have to take care of her too, right? I can't live with your mother who is losing her mind. You know well that I couldn't stand her even when she was well. Let's get a divorce.
I was surprised when she mentioned divorce. "What do you mean? You want a divorce over this?"
I don't care what you say. I've made my decision. I'm different from you.
Different? How?
I told you I would never live with your mother, no matter what, didn't I? And you said that was fine too.
Yeah, but things have changed. A divorce because of that. Isn't that too easy?
It's not easy. You broke your promise, so this is only natural.
And with that, she took her prepared carry-on bag and left. That was the last time we saw each other in person. It was certainly lonely being alone at first, and I felt regret when it dawned on me that she left me for good. But I fell out of love with Charlotte and her lack of kindness when she rejected me and pushed me away so coldly. Sometime later, I also agreed to divorce and sign the papers, and in the end, the divorce was finalized. Since then, I never saw Charlotte again. It was also crazy. What is marriage for, anyway? I guess I won't marry again, I swore to myself. After the divorce, I left the care of my mother to Lucas, Jackie, and professional helpers for a while. And in my free time, I went back to my hometown to help care for my mother as much as possible. My mother's dementia would occasionally show itself, and I thought that it was not hard for me because I only visited her from time to time, but it must have been tough for Lucas and his wife, looking after her while keeping their corporate jobs. I felt sorry for them. I had to stay in the city for an ongoing major project and planned to move to the countryside when it was finished. 2 years after the divorce, with the project finally completed, I moved back to my hometown. I can do my photography work anywhere, and I enjoy taking pictures of the countryside. So I thought, in the end, divorce wasn't all negative. This is how I started a new chapter in my life in the countryside at the age of 37. My mother sometimes behaved like a child and sometimes returned to adulthood. Keeping up with her stories going back and forth between the past and the present was challenging. And I couldn't help but think, it's amazing that she can go back to the past. Is she on a time machine? I kept my thoughts about my mother's condition to myself. Fortunately, there were no serious incidents, largely thanks to help from my brother, his wife, and professionals. But to be honest, I was scared of seeing my mother, who had always loved cooking, standing in the kitchen. Even when I said to her, "Mom, it's dangerous. I'll do it," she would say,
Don't treat me like a senile old woman. I'm still okay.
and laugh while holding a knife. That was scary too. I was good at cooking too. And when I was married, I cooked often as we took turns cooking dinner. Especially after I became a freelance photographer and had more free time. I used to cook dinner most of the time since my ex-wife always came home late. But I had never thought I would end up cooking with my mother in her kitchen as an adult. One day, the helper, who always takes care of us, brought a new person.
My name is Emma Carter. Nice to meet you. I'm helping your mother from today.
The new helper said, "Nice to meet you too," I replied. As I looked at her, who seemed to be about my age, I thought, she seems familiar. Then she said,
He. Oliver, it's me, Emma Diaz. Don't you recognize me?
I was surprised and asked, "Really, Emma?" Seeing her nod with a smile, I couldn't believe my eyes. Emma Diaz was a classmate from my middle school days. At that time, she was in a different body size. I said to her, "You're very slim now. I didn't recognize you." She laughed and said,
That's right. I lost weight in my early 30s. I didn't do anything extreme. It was just having children and raising them that did it for me.
From then on, Emma started coming to my mother's house as her caregiver, and that gave us the opportunity to chat and catch up. Emma had divorced a year ago and was now raising her 2 daughters alone. She kept her ex-husband's family name for the sake of her daughters. I didn't know you also got divorced. Me too. Though I don't have any kids, since my divorce, I'm completely done with the idea of marriage. I said, "So this?" Emma asked.
Oh, what happened, Oliver? Did your wife dump you?
I replied, "Oh yeah, exactly." And we both laughed out loud. Emma was always cheerful, and I felt at ease talking with her. I wonder if those caregivers also provide healing service. Her cheerful demeanor made me think like that. Of course, she was just doing her job, but she was helping my mother with extra kindness, while also helping me indirectly, allowing me to continue my work as a photographer. Since I also had work in the city, I sometimes had to ask her to take care of my mother outside the regular schedule. Also, my mother was becoming increasingly happy to see Emma.
When is Emma coming next time?
My mother would ask, to which I would reply, "You want to see Emma that much?" Then my mother would say,
Of course, there's no one like her. It would have been nice if she was your wife.
and laughed. Sure enough, seeing Emma, who was now a beautiful, caring woman, made my heart race. And seeing her taking care of my mother with such warmth and attentiveness made me feel like falling in love with her. I'm definitely done with women and marriage. Absolutely not. I thought to myself as I took my mother to the nearby park that was so famous for hydrangeas at that time of year that many photographers brought their models there. I joked to my mother, "Do you want to try modeling?" And she quipped back.
My fees are high.
My mother had clearly become more energetic than when I lived in the city. Seeing my mother like this made me happy. So I started taking photos of her walking down the small path lined with hydrangeas. She had a smile like that of a young girl, and for a moment I wondered if she had experienced a time slip due to her dementia. I asked her, "Are you okay?" To which she replied,
Aren't these flowers beautiful, Liam?
I thought, well, as long as she's enjoying herself, and let her continue walking as she pleased, while I kept taking photos. Then I said, "Let's take a short break. Stay here, don't move, okay?" And had her sit on a bench. I went to buy some tea at the snack shop. It took only about a minute, but when I came back, she was gone in the park. "Mom, where are you?" I looked around, but she was nowhere to be found. I was worried about her and wondered if something had happened to her. And just as I was about to contact the police, I heard a voice say,
Oliver.
Turning around, I saw Emma and my mother there. "Emma, Mom, where have you been?" I asked, relieved. My mother replied,
Liam, let me introduce you. This is Emma, a friend of mine.
Emmy also chimed in.
Hello, Liam. We were just looking at the hydrangeas down this path. We had a lot of fun, didn't we, Patty?
Behind Emma were her twin daughters, who looked about elementary school age. "Are these your daughters?" I asked.
Yes, these are my daughters, Sophie and Ava. Say hello, girls.
Em responded.
Nice to meet you. I'm Sophia. Hello, I'm Ava.
The twin girls greeted. I said, "Thank you for finding my mother. I'm Oliver, your mom, and I went to school together." I invited them to lunch as a token of my gratitude, and the five of us headed to a burger restaurant. I felt a little uneasy having a meal with Emma and her daughters. The woman in front of me, who was Emma, was so different from the schoolgirl I used to know. Probably, Emma was feeling the same way, and there was awkwardness in the air. It was my mother who changed the awkward atmosphere.
Your daughters are so cute. I wish I had grandchildren too.
When my mother said this out of the blue, Emma and I burst out laughing. It was not surprising that my mother would feel this way, as neither my brother nor I had children. My mother chatted happily with the twins, who talked and later walked hand in hand with her. I was impressed by how the girls were naturally friendly. They are indeed Emma's daughters. From that day, Mama and I began frequently having meals with Emma and her children, almost as a natural development. Then, one day while I was organizing photo data at home, I suddenly heard a loud noise in the hallway. Surprised, I went to check it out and found my mother lying on the floor, unconscious. I immediately called the emergency service, and my mother was taken to the hospital by ambulance. The diagnosis revealed that there was a blood clot in my mother's brain. My mother was in and out of consciousness for days, and I was overwhelmed by anxiety. I wondered in my heart if she might never wake up again. One day, Emma came to visit. When she asked me about her, my mother suddenly woke up.
Oliver, what are you dawdling for? Hurry up and get Emma to marry you.
She blurted out these words, then closed her eyes again. After that, my mother never woke up again. I knew that this moment would come someday, but I never thought it would be so sudden. I now believe that my mother waited for Emma to arrive so that she could also hear her last words to me. She mustered her remaining strength and encouraged me. It's almost been 2 years since then. Emma and I are now waiting for the arrival of a new life. It's the grandchild my mother wanted. I thought I would never marry again, but thanks to Mom, I'm having a family. I get along very well with Emma's two daughters, too. They understand that I lost my mother and are particularly kind toward me. This touches me deeply. They are also looking forward to the arrival of this new member of our family and keep asking,
Isn't the baby born yet?
as we eagerly await that day. Mom, do you see from where you are how pretty Emma and her daughters are? Soon, the grandchild you wanted will join us. All of this is thanks to you, Mom. I'm truly grateful. I speak to Mom like this and thank her every time I visit her grave. Beautiful hydrangeas are in full bloom around the grave, reminding me of Mom's happy smile on that day.